Yeah, it's really very simple, Alex. Under the Presidential Records Act, the President of the United States, current or former, has an absolute right to hold on to any document he wishes. So the whole idea that Trump had grabbed classified documents in violation of the law was bogus. Now, they were desperate to get those documents back. We now know why. They never dreamed that Tulsi Gabbard would ultimately declassify those very documents, proving that there was a seditious conspiracy that involved Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, really the ringleader, Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, and his lapdog henchman Andrew Weissman. These people are busted. But that's why they were going into Mar-a-Lago. Look, I see that.
By the way, you were the first to say that in 2022, and you've been right almost every time, so I can't remember when you were wrong. I didn't doubt you, but I thought, wow, I didn't really make the connection that, oh, they want secret documents that expose them.
This is a seditious conspiracy to engage in treason that didn't end in 2016 or 2017, but continued through the 2020 election, where very clearly Tulsi Gabbard has signaled that she will be declassifying documents to demonstrate that there were planned irregularities, a planned misconduct in those elections, continues into 2024, manifesting itself in the raid in Mar-a-Lago. Here's why this is important news. It means that the perps that I just named, the Obama gang, can stand trial in South Florida, not Washington, D.C., where every judge is rigged and every jury is rigged. Well, I have direct confirmation from a current member of the cabinet that a special counsel has been designated, and that grand juries in at least 3 cities, one in South Florida, one in New York City, and one in Washington, D.C., have begun hearing testimony against those individuals. But let me make some other suggestions. I believe that if the FBI will investigate, I think they have investigated, they will learn that Senator Richard Blumenthal, the great Vietnam War hero, that Richard Blumenthal, Senator Lindsey Graham, and Susan Rice, the former National Security Advisor, all met with Volodymyr Zelensky prior to his meeting with Donald Trump, and urged Zelensky not to take any peace deal put forward by the president. That is a flagrant violation of the Logan Act. You might remember that Joe Biden wanted to charge General Flynn with violating the Logan Act when there was no violation. So I think you may see upcoming raids at the homes of those places. This is a very key point. U.S. senators, whether it's Adam Schiff or whether it's Lindsey Graham, they are not immune from criminal prosecution. They're not immune from being investigated.
Let's use a gross term. The cherry got popped when they indicted Trump with a bunch of made-up crap. So we're in another ballgame now. All right, Roger Stone joining us live. You can see the great American patriot, former political prisoner there on screen. We're going to talk about the Bolton raid on his office and home and what that portends. And one of my sources in the last few months is Roger. Roger didn't think there'd be any indictments in the first administration. A couple months ago, he says, nope, my intel is they're going for it. Well, I've got that right from the top. I mean, not the president, but the top. I'll stop there, very high-level DOJ. And you see all the action. You see the grand juries. You see the fear in the globalist eyes. And this is cut and dry stuff. And they're not just going to look back at the 2016 and 2017 across for a hurricane that targeted Flynn and Roger and myself and Trump and everybody else. It's been ongoing on the Mar-a-Lago raid, all of it, and we have them. So we're going to Roger here in just a moment with that and more. But first, I got up at 5 a.m. this morning, and it was just breaking that there was a raid at John Bolton's house and at his offices in Maryland, in Bethesda. And boy, he celebrated the raid on Roger Stone. Boy, he celebrated the Mar-a-Lago raid in August 2022 on Trump. Boy, he said Trump was a criminal and couldn't have secret documents. We're writing the Constitution. He's the only person that can have any documents he wants. Just like these judges say he's a tyrant for deporting people, and he keeps winning at the appeals courts because it's cut and dry. They just think you're stupid. But he's not allowed to have classified stuff. And I said a month ago when Tulsi Gabbard released the documents, I said, you watch, he's going to get indicted. He held back intelligence That's treason and espionage for his corporate group. That Trump was totally innocent of Russiagate because he was involved in it and hid it, quote, in his safe. So this is amazing, and it ties into all the grand juries being set up and the Russiagate weaponization investigations and Ed Martin and everything else that's happening. FBI searches home and offices of ex-Trump National Security Advisor Bolton. Bolton's home and offices raided by federal agents. Now, they didn't send 25 of them and point machine guns in his face, like Roger, for no reason. But he does have a deadly lapdog. FBI Cash Patel posts cryptic message amid John Bolton raid. No one's above the law. Trump says he didn't know about it, but he deserves it. No kidding. It's happening, folks. We are not 8 years ago. Of course, we have Bolton, who was so pleased about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Let's play that clip and then go to the great Roger Stone. Here is John Bolton a few years ago, very happy about what happened to Trump. And now I'm hearing, we're for a police state. I'm for a police state, MSNBC saying, because I'm saying arrest them all. No, we have real crimes. Real crimes against America, trying to overthrow elections, working with China with fake mail-in ballots. I mean, we have real meat and potatoes, and America wants this. I have people confront me at the grocery store, and at Barton Springs, on the hike and bike trail, and at church. Hey, when is the indictment? Like, I did it. When are the indictments? When are the indictments? We've got the town people with the pitchforks up at Dr. Frankenstein's castle, baby. And I'm like, hey, I'm with you. I'm with the townspeople. Don't poke me with the pitchfork. So it's going down like Donkey Kong. Here's a clip of Bolton. We'll go right to Roger Stone of StoneZone.com.
Any given moment. But I don't think he cared about the classification system. I don't think he appreciated the sensitivity of this information, and he didn't appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. So this had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
There's a couple of different ways that people think about this, and people who are not friendly to the president who think about what's happened here. And one of them is, Donald Trump, master thief, criminal, running some kind of elaborate conspiracy to bring things out of the White House and keep them secret for potentially for political or financial gain. There are other people who his attitude is Trump is chaotic, he's careless, he's not that smart. He took these things almost by mistake, and now he's basically stamping his feet and saying they're mine. I don't want to give them up. Give me a sense of where you think the truth lies with respect to Trump's intelligence, carelessness, and the degree to which he might have brought motive to bear on taking these documents out of the White House and keeping them for this long at Mar-a-Lago.
Well, it's very hard to speculate on motive other than that he liked cool things. He saw things so he wanted to take them, and he was pretty much able to take them, and not just on classified information matters, on all kinds of things that crossed his desk. Some days he liked to eat a lot of French fries. Some days he took classified documents. He wanted them. Why did he want them? Because he could get them.
Right.
So let's stop there and go to Roger. But that is a master class in a minute and a half clip of gaslighting bullshit. Under the Constitution, he could declassify or keep anything he wanted. Biden couldn't. He was never the president before when he took them and stored them, in his garage and got caught doing it, but didn't get in trouble. And so they spin it like, oh, was it careless that he's stole this, or did he mean to steal it? When they give you a false dichotomy there, when it's all a lie. Trump said to the National Archives, they're mine, and had his lawyers explain it to him. He didn't run off and steal stuff, Roger, and we now know it's stuff that implicated them that he was smart to keep. Roger Stone, explain this to people.
Yeah, it's really very simple, Alex. Under the Presidential Records Act, the President of the United States, current or former, has an absolute right to hold on to any document he wishes. So the whole idea that Trump had grabbed classified documents in violation of the law was bogus. Now, they were desperate to get those documents back. We now know why. They never dreamed that Tulsi Gabbard would ultimately declassify those very documents, proving that there was a seditious conspiracy that involved Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, really the ringleader, Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, Special Counsel Robert Mueller, and his lapdog henchman Andrew Weissman. These people are busted. But that's why they were going into Mar-a-Lago. And look, I see that
By the way,
John
you were the
Bolton.
first to say that in 2022, and you've been right almost every time. So I can't remember when you were wrong. I didn't doubt you, but I thought, wow, I didn't really make the connection that, oh, they want secret documents that expose them. Continue.
Yeah, John, I noticed, Alex, that John Bolton just put out a formal statement saying that he did not appropriate his mustache from one of the village people. And that was not what they were looking for, the stolen mustache. No, on a serious note here, what goes around comes around. And it's very clear. Kash Patel is a very serious guy, and he doesn't act without serious thought. And I'm sure that he has probable cause to raid both Bolton's home and his office, looking for classified documents, which Bolton, in violation of the law, held on to. Now, I am a little disappointed that the InfoWars camera crew was not tipped off so they could be inches away from the door of Bolton's home when his place was raided. But I think this is the beginning. And what you said earlier, Alex, is absolutely true. This is a seditious conspiracy to engage in treason that didn't end in 2016 or 2017, but continued through the 2020 election, where very clearly Tulsi Gabbard has signaled that she will be declassifying documents to demonstrate that there were planned irregularities, a planned misconduct in those elections, continues into 2024, manifesting itself in the raid in Mar-a-Lago. Here's why this is important news. It means that the perps that I just named, the Obama gang, can stand trial in South Florida, not Washington, D.C., where every judge is rigged and every jury is rigged, and where there will never be a fair trial one way or another.
Well, I'm told that's where the main grand jury that they admit they've impaneled is. They're going to be announcing it soon, but I'm told there's at least 10 others by high-level sources. Roger, big picture. We were talking 2 months ago, and you said for the first time, from my intel, I do believe they're going for the indictments. Can you elaborate on that and where you think we are now? Because from my information, it's going down. It'll take some time with these grand juries, but they have such hardcore evidence. Unless the grand juries get tampered with, I think we're going to see the indictments within 5 months.
Well, I have direct confirmation from a current member of the cabinet that a special counsel has been designated, and that grand juries in at least 3 cities, one in South Florida, one in New York City, and one in Washington, D.C., have begun hearing testimony against those individuals. But let me make some other suggestions. I believe that if the FBI will investigate, I think they have investigated, they will learn that Senator Richard Blumenthal, the great Vietnam War hero, that Richard Blumenthal, Senator Lindsey Graham, and Susan Rice, the former National Security Advisor, all met with Volodymyr Zelensky prior to his meeting with Donald Trump and urged Zelensky not to take any peace deal put forward by the president. That is a flagrant violation of the Logan Act. You might remember that Joe Biden wanted to charge General Flynn with violating the Logan Act when there was no violation. So I think you may see upcoming raids at the homes of those places. This is a very key point. U.S. senators, whether it's Adam Schiff or whether it's Lindsey Graham, they are not immune from criminal prosecution. They're not immune from being investigated.
Let's use a gross term. The cherry got popped when they indicted Trump with a bunch of made-up crap. So we're in another ballgame now.
I think that's one way to put it. The other way I would put it is to say that back when it was announced that the Trump Justice Department was looking at members of Congress for the crime of leaking classified information, if you go back and do a media search, the outrage from Adam Schiff and his sidekick, Eric Swallowswell, outrage that members of Congress are being spied on. The truth is, the Trump Justice Department looked at as many Republicans as they did Democrats to find the source of the leaks of these classified documents. And the Biden Department Inspector General, not a Trump appointee, a Biden appointee, found in their December 2024 report that Schiff and Swalwell had openly discussed in a staff meeting their intention to leak classified documents, which subsequently showed up in the New York Times and the Washington Post. This is a felony, far more serious than the bogus crime that I was charged with, lying to Congress under oath in my voluntary
Well, it
testimony.
really is this espionage, and we think of that as
that never actually happened.
we think of that as Russia or China. No, we have the Democrat Party operating as like a foreign power against us, as White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said last week. So Roger, big picture here. I know you've got a lot of sources. You don't want to give the specifics. Same thing here. But here's an example. I've been told by multiple high-level Justice Department folks 4 months ago, 2 months ago, and then recently, I'll leave it at that, that they're like drinking out of a fire hose here. Their offices are full of whistleblowers, not just on the pardons. I mean, we're talking senior people out of the White House, on top of what we know about, that they are being flooded with whistleblowers. So the Democrats and the deep state, their minions are cutting and running right now, Roger. This is turning into a rout. What do they know that the public doesn't know? Well, I'll tell you this. The FBI has been visiting a lot of people the last few months. A lot of quiet subpoenas have gone out. And this is, notice how Trump didn't have any leaks about the Russia thing up in Alaska. Trump is doing a 180 job on containment of what he's really up to. That's really scaring him.
Yeah, no, look, you have a White House operation run by Susie Wiles that does not leak. There have been no leaks about the peace efforts by President Trump, no leaks about the Russia investigation. That is a marked difference from the term in 2016, when people like General John Kelly and H.R. McMaster and Steve Bannon, in all honesty, leaked relentlessly, trying to make themselves look good. This White House operates without leaks. And I do think a day of reckoning is coming for at least Joe Biden, Susan Rice, FBI Director Comey for sure, John Brennan. My sources tell me that Brennan has fled the country, that he is seeking an Irish passport. I doubt that there's any country he can go to that doesn't have an extradition treaty where he'd be willing to
by
live.
the way, Roger, you don't just say stuff, so that's breaking exclusive. I was told grand juries and just the one place, but said they're being set up other places. You just named 3 places are set up. You put that in the bank. And that Brennan has fled the country. Elaborate on that.
I'm told that he was at least in Austria. I also believe he went to Ireland. He may be in Ireland now. If I'm wrong, by the way, all he has to do is show himself. I mean, tell us where you are. Hold a press conference, John. I dare you. If you notice, I think they've given him like a mock MSNBC background so it can look like he's in the studio. And MSNBC, they're changing their name, by the way, to MS Now, as if that's going to fool anybody. I don't get my news from MSNBC for the same reason I don't drink out of the toilet. They're just as non-credible as they were.
You know what it stands for? More shit now.
Well, that may be. John Heilman, by the way, who you showed in that clip, literally the lowest life form known to man. This is a guy who showed up at my trial knowing that I was gagged by a federal judge just to taunt me, to try to get me to break the gag order, calling me every name in the book. Literally the single worst piece of human garbage I've ever met. Not a journalist, a punk. He probably outweighs me by 100 pounds, but in all honesty, all it would take is one shot. This guy is one of the great jerk-offs of all time. And there you see he and John Bolton celebrating the violation of the president's rights at Mar-a-Lago. So look, I know how it feels, just as the FBI rifled through Melania's underwear drawers. They went through my wife's underwear drawers. It is a horrific feeling of violation. I would point out to you, by the way, that nothing they removed from my home, nothing, was used as evidence in their phony trial against me.
And that's because there was nothing there that made you look bad, just like in my phony show trials. So, Roger, Trump is set to make some announcement. They're not saying what it is. They've really been hyping it. Do you have any idea what it is?
I must tell you, I do not, because, again, this White House does not leak. But I'll tell you one very significant development here that people don't fully appreciate. The director of the Federal Housing and Finance Agency has sent a letter of referral to the Department of Justice indicating that one of the current Federal Reserve governors, Lisa Cook, is guilty of mortgage fraud. She claimed that her home outside Ann Arbor, Michigan, was her principal residence. And then just 2 weeks later, Alex, she claimed that her home outside of Atlanta was her principal legal residence. Now, that gave her a tax break in both states that she was not entitled to and allowed her to get a lower mortgage rate and a lower insurance rate. But here's why this is really important. Because Trump now has, in my opinion, the authority to fire her for cause, that would change the vote on the Federal Reserve from 5-4 against an interest rate cut to 5-4 in favor of an interest rate cut. And a cut in interest rates right now, which is fully justified by the inflation rate and the unemployment rate,
will ensure the recovery, and they're trying to kill it. Well, now Powell says he may cut interest rates. So no president, Kennedy tried, they killed him. No president has ever, in the 110-plus year history, 112-year history of the Federal Reserve, private Federal Reserve, has ever brought them to heel. He is very close. And again, I love how they tried to put him in prison for mortgage fraud with no evidence. But with them, whether it's Letitia James or Cook, it's cut and dry. I love seeing the pit they dug for us being prepared for them.
Yeah, it is terrific to know that the deadly snare laid by Robert Mueller and Adam Schiff, for me, they're now stepping into themselves. And it's interesting to see editorials at Politico and the Wall Street Journal criticizing Bill Pulte, the head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, for merely insisting that the law on mortgages be followed, that we eliminate mortgage fraud. These people had no problem whatsoever when the Justice Department was weaponized against Donald Trump and me and you and General Flynn and Paul Manafort and others. They had no editorials about that. But now that Bill Pulte is merely trying to enforce the law when it comes to mortgages, well, he's some kind of villain. I think he's a hero. I think whether it is the fact that he's exposed Adam Schiff or Letitia James or now Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve, it shows that there is one standard, that these people who previously were above the law are no longer above the law.
Well, to quote John Rambo in First Blood, they drew first blood, and they're actually crooks, and we're not. I mean, here's just an example, to put myself in the story, it's an example. I'm sitting there in my last deposition of dozens and dozens over the years, and the Democrat Party lawyers, the Paul Weiss law firm, all of them, right there in the conference room, you've been there many times, they go, what about this $3 million we just caught you hiding? And I went, I don't know about that. They go, under penalty of perjury? And they had a Justice Department representative there as well. They can do that if they want. And I went, no, I'm not hiding $3 million. And then later we get the account. It was made up. Like, imagine how unethical it is. People that don't know, you can get disbarred for that. Literally making up gotcha moments with a camera on me. We just found this $3 million you've got. I'm like, I don't know about $3 million. What are you talking about? Really, Mr. Jones? Are you sure? So with all, remember, they did that to you. Oh, we caught Roger in hiding money in his mortgage. He's going to go. It was all lies. A, we're not crooks.
Yeah.
B, we're under damn magnifying glasses. I mean, I don't even touch my money. I have multiple accounting firms do it because I know they've been gunning for me. I mean, the idea, we're Boy Scouts compared to these people. And they want to, and now they're all whining. Screw them.
I think my favorite moment, Alex, in your ordeal was when they asked you condescendingly, okay, so tell us about these so-called global child sex trafficking rings. And you said, oh, you mean like the one run by Jeffrey Epstein? To me, that is one of the classic moments in American history.
Roger, you probably got to go, and Trump's about to make this big announcement, but I want to do 5 more minutes with you on just other 35,000-foot views. Stay there, back in 2 minutes. StoneZone.com. Whatever you do, listeners, share the live feed now at Real Talk Shows on X and Infowars.com/show and on Rumble. The great Roger Stone, straight ahead.
Black Lives Matter! 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 Thank y'all so much for showing up for yourselves this evening. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
So no homicides in D.C. in over a week and a half since Trump put troops on the streets. They lied and said they're armed. No, they said we have guns at our armory like we always do. Clearly, this is the Podesta plan to destabilize, and then if Trump does something about it, with the defunding of the police and all the rest of it, call him a dictator, just like they blocked Pelosi and the mayor, Bowser. the 10,000 National Guard he wanted for Jan 6. Now Pelosi caught on her own daughter's documentary, admitting they knew it was coming. Just incredible, Roger. So one of the final aces in the hole, I know, as we talked during the break, you agree, is them trying to cause civil unrest. What's the latest on the Democrat Party Soros rent-a-mobs who've had most of their money cut off via Doge?
Alex, it's interesting because they're doing it both on the streets, but also doing it in elections. Shocking new series shows that the rise of the Ayatollah Zohran Mamdani, the jihadist, socialist, Marxist Democrat nominee for mayor of New York City, they would have us believe that this is some kind of people-fueled revolution, that it's a revolt against dark money and special interests. But Sam Antar, who's one of the most brilliant fraud investigators in the country, has figured out that this is entirely funded through a series of Soros-connected nonprofits acting illegally and using their money for political purposes. So this is completely funded by millionaires.
Oh, we did our own investigation. Thomas, one of our criminals, did. I covered it some, not enough. We have all the same network. It's all Soros.
Completely. There are. It's interesting because Mamdani gets thousands of hits on Instagram and on Facebook and so on, but nobody pushed the donate button on his website. Not a single person pushed the donate button. The whole thing is AstroTurf. The whole thing is agitprop, just like what's going on in Washington, D.C. All of these crowds of protesters you see yelling at Vice President J.D. Vance, they're all paid for. I think you go to thugsareus.com, I believe, is where you find them. It's a fraud. The people I know in D.C., the people who live in D.C., they're happy because they can now walk their dog. They can go to the grocery.
We played the video. There are spontaneous groups of black DCers, real people out praising it.
Well, because their neighborhoods are safe now. They can go to the grocery store or they can walk their dog without fear of being hit in the head and robbed by some thug. So Donald Trump has acted here. One of the first responsibilities of the President of the United States is to maintain order. And he's doing that in the District of Columbia. And the people who actually live in the District of Columbia and aren't getting paid to go out and protest, I think are very happy about it.
In closing, though, I want to just put a bookend on this, stonezone.com. Roger, you told me off air 2 months ago, but you also said it on air, that no, now you believe the indictments are coming. That's the plan. We have the evidence. Now with these new moves on Bolton and others, can you give us your take or predictions on if and when we're going to see indictments?
You know, Alex, I'm not an attorney, and I must say this Justice Department doesn't leak. This FBI under Kash Patel does not leak. This White House staff does not leak. That's very different than what you saw under the Democrats, very different than what you saw under Trump 1, in which unfortunately there were a lot of quislings in the administration that didn't support the president or his agenda. That is not true here. And it is thanks, frankly, to the incredible courage and the meticulous nature of Tulsi Gabbard, in which she has declassified all of the proofs. So no, this is no longer conjecture or investigative journalism. These are cold, hard, demonstrated facts, and they cannot be disputed. She has uncovered the entire cabal. She's done it with their own words, with their own documents. She is a national hero, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
And I've been from really good FBI sources. They're actually saying Bondi is doing pretty good, too. All right. Thank you so much. StoneZone.com. We need funds. We're fighting the globalists at point blank range.